We need to talk about California's homelessness crisis. And some number so big, it almost sounds fake. $24 billion have been spent. So the question is, where did it all go?
Just look at that number for a second. 24 billion with a B. That's an almost unimaginable amount of your taxpayer money, all aimed at solving one single problem.
But here's the thing that just doesn't make any sense. After spending all that money, you'd expect the problem to get better, right? Well, it didn't. It actually got worse. Both spending and homelessness shot straight up. How is that even possible?
So it all comes down to this one single question. It's the question every taxpayer should be asking, and now it's the one federal investigators are asking too.
Right. The $24 billion question. And, this isn't just a talking point anymore. The failure has gotten so big, so undeniable, that it's officially moved from a state issue to a federal investigation. And Los Angeles is ground zero. The feds are now digging into the city's homelessness spending and all its contracts. We're talking about some serious allegations here. Developers getting paid for projects that just stopped. For housing units that were promised but never actually built. This is a whole new level of scrutiny. This is really the heart of the matter, isn't it? It's the question that just hangs in the air. Forget the politics for a second. Just on a purely practical level, how do you throw billions of dollars at a problem and somehow manage to make it worse? Okay, so to get some answers, you have to do what investigators always do. You follow the money. But be warned, this isn't a straight line. It's more like a maze, a labyrinth designed to be confusing. So here's how it works. First, the state cuts this massive check for billions. Then that money gets passed down to the counties. The counties then pass it to the cities. The cities give it to a whole bunch of different nonprofits, and then those nonprofits hire their own subcontractors. You see what's happening? At every single step, someone takes a slice. The money gets diluted before it ever gets close to the actual problem. So where is that money going? Well, it's being siphoned off for things like administrative costs, overhead, big executive salaries, fleets of consultants hired to write reports. Those reports are then discussed at expensive conferences. It's a machine that's really, really good at feeding itself. And that's the bottom line, isn't it? Look at that system we just walked through. It seems like absolutely everyone is getting paid, except, of course, for the people who are actually living on the sidewalk. Now look, don't just take my word for it. This isn't just a theory. The official evidence of this systemic failure comes from a state auditor's report that was, frankly, an absolute bombshell. Think about this. Back in 2022, the California state auditors set out to do something that sounds pretty simple, right? They just wanted to see if the money was working. And this was their conclusion. The state of California itself could not prove that these billions of dollars actually helped anyone get off the streets. It's just stunning. And you might be wondering, why not? How could they not know? Well, the audit found that the entire system is basically a black box. There's no single system to track where the money goes. There's no consistent way for all these groups to report what they're doing. And because of that, there's absolutely no way to measure results. The most basic building blocks of accountability, they just aren't there. So let's be crystal clear here. This is not some minor bookkeeping error. This isn't about someone forgetting to file the right form. This is the definition of a systemic failure. The entire system, from the very top to the very bottom, is broken. And if you want to see just how absurd it gets, you have to zoom in on the project level. In Los Angeles, for example, the cost for some of these projects ballooned to, well, around this much: $750,000. And no, that's not for an entire apartment building. That's the price tag for one single housing unit. I mean, let's put that into perspective for a second. For what it costs the system to house one person, you could go out and buy a beautiful family home in a huge number of American cities. It's completely upside down. And what do you get for that price? Delays and projects that never even finish. This isn't just bad luck. The system is designed to produce this result. So this brings us to the biggest question of all. Why? Why would anyone keep pouring money into a system that is so clearly, so spectacularly failing? Well, the answer is pretty uncomfortable. We have to talk about what this system has turned into. People have started calling it the homelessness industry. And what they mean by that is a system that basically feeds itself. It's created this permanent flow of taxpayer money this endless cycle of contracts. And here's the crazy part. If they actually solved the problem, the money would stop. The whole industry is incentivized not to succeed. And this is what happens when a system has no accountability. When you stop measuring actual results, when outcomes just don't matter, then spending the money becomes the only goal. It's not about helping people anymore. It's just about keeping the machine running. All right, so let's pull back and look at the big picture here. When you look at all the data, it's not random chaos. There is a clear, undeniable pattern of failure. Here's pattern number 1, and it's the most important. The more money that gets thrown at this problem, the worse the actual results on the street get. It's a direct correlation, and it's absolutely damning. And pattern number 2, the more complex the system gets, the more agencies, nonprofits, and middlemen you add, the less accountability you have. The responsibility gets spread so thin that when things go wrong, there's no one to point to. No one is ever held responsible. Think about it. If any private company blew through $24 billion and failed this spectacularly, they'd be bankrupt. They'd be gone. But this system, it just keeps getting rewarded with more and more of your money. So I'll just leave you with this question. You're the taxpayer. You've seen where the money goes. You tell me, was it spent wisely?